Hey there, folks. Your favorite Spiffy Man 255 here again today, and I'm here with the hottest of hot takes on an article that I read recently that I found very, very interesting. But before we get into that, I'm gonna do something where I reach as far as I possibly can to compare political ideologies to a pretty badass physics concept, and we'll see whether or not the comparison holds any water. So buckle up, wayward, weary internet explorers, and let's go to school for a second.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
So most people are pretty familiar with the concept of a black hole, you know, this giant entity who just flies through space and just gobbles up as much matter and energy as it possibly can get its hands on. But I think a little less well known is that every so often these black holes, particularly the super large ones, will build up and build up and build up and build up so much stuff that eventually they have to shit it out. And this is something that we call a quasar, however you want to say it. And it basically, the black hole gobbles up as much as it can, and then eventually a lot of this stuff just expels outward from it in a bright flash of just awesomeness. Whoa! So, what you get is that you have these political ideologies, and I feel like you have all these different parts of them, and they all just kind of culminate and coalesce, but then every once in a while, they all get gobbled up and just get eaten up, and then all of a sudden, you see them all come out in one place to create the perfect version of a straw man for that particular ideology. So, let's go ahead and get into this article. So, we've got here in the Washington Post, Democracy Dies in Darkness up here, opinions, why can't we hate men? Now, I have a little thing about this title that we'll go over at the end. And here we have a picture of Harvey Assface, and here we've already made this association. I spoke about this in my last video about how you associate a negative entity with a person or group to make sure that this group is viewed as this negative entity. You get to project this group right here on to fuckhead here, right? So you make the two the same. That's how this kind of journalism works. By Susanna Danuta Walters, who is a professor of sociology and director of the Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies program at Northeastern University, and she's the editor of the gender studies journal Signs. All right, so this is a woman with some prominence where she is, right? This is a woman who teaches people things, probably teaches many young women about gender and sexuality. Okay, keep that shit in mind. So here we go. It's not that Eric Schneiderman, the now former New York Attorney General accused of abuse by multiple women, pushed me over the edge. My edge has been crossed for a long time. Before President Trump, gotta get your dig in on Donald Trump there. Okay, before Harvey Weinstein, before mansplaining and incels, before live streaming sexual assaults and red pill men's groups and rape camps as a tool of war, and the deadening banality of the male prerogative. Okay, so we've very lovingly set the tone of this whole article. It's very clear already to me that this woman absolutely despises men, males, and masculinity. So as my first trick, we'll say, why can't we hate Spiffy Man? Because I am part of this group, and evidently she hates this group in total, right? Here, we've seen in this indisputably true context, full stop. Indisputably true context. If it's a context, if you're viewing this through a lens, then it is most decidedly disputable. You cannot make this claim that it is indisputable, because it can be disputed. So, we have to basically take this author, this woman, at her word that these things are true. Now, I know for a fact that many people do not believe these things are true. Therefore, already we're off to a bad start. We've got a premise that cannot be true. So here we go. Seen in this indisputably true context, it seems logical to hate men. Okay. I can't lie. I've always had a soft spot for the radical feminist smackdown for naming the problem in no uncertain terms. Okay, so we've got more context for where you're coming from. I've rankled at the "but we don't hate men" protestations of generations of would-be feminists and found the "men are not the problem, the system is" obfuscation too precious by half. So here she belittles the women who aren't quite woke enough. But of course, the criticisms of this blanket condemnation of men, from transnational feminists who decry such glib universalism to U.S. women of color who demand an intersectional perspective, are mostly on the mark. So basically the hyper-rad femmes who are misandrists are the ones who are right. These critics rightly insist on an analysis of male power as institutional, not narrowly personal or individual or biologically based in male bodies. Growing movements to challenge a masculinity built on domination and violence and to engage boys and men in feminism are both gratifying and necessary. Please continue. So basically, tear men down. Destroy the patriarchy. But this recognition of the complexity of male domination, how different it can be in different parts of the world, how racism shapes it, should not, must not, mean we forget some universal facts. Oh, let's see the facts. Pretty much everywhere in the world, this is true. Debatable. Women experience sexual violence. Fair. So do men. And the threat of that violence permeates our choices, big and small. Who's our? Is this women? Is this men? Is this society? Is this Americans? Is this Islamists? Who is this? In addition, male violence is not restricted to intimate partner attacks or sexual assault, but plagues us in the form of terrorism and mass gun violence. Okay, in which men are also killed. Women are underrepresented in higher wage jobs, local and federal government, business, educational leadership, etc. Okay. So empower them. Make them feel like they can do these things. Wage inequality continues to permeate every economy and almost every industry. Okay, so what? Why? Why is there wage inequality? You can't rightly claim that it's due to sexism because you don't know that. No one does. We can't prove that. No one has been able to discover why wage inequality exists between the sexes. But why? Is it because of sexism? Is it because of men? Women continue to provide far higher rates of unpaid labor in the home, e.g. childcare, elder care, care for disabled individuals, housework, and food provision. Yeah, everyone has to do that. You don't get paid for taking care of your own shit. Women have less access to education, particularly at the higher levels. Women have lower rates of property ownership. I disagree with less access to education because right now women are graduating at a 20% higher rate than men are from higher education places. Women have lower rates of property ownership. Why? Why is that, do you think? The list goes on. It varies by country, but these global realities of women's economic, political, social, and sexual vulnerabilities are, well, real. So what about men's problems? What issues socially do men face, on average? Indeed, the nations in which these inequities have been radically minimized, e.g. Iceland, are those in which deliberate effort has been made to both own up to gender disparities and to address them directly and concretely. But interestingly enough, in these places like Iceland and Sweden, this effort has actually reinforced gender roles, traditional gender roles within society. That's interesting. So in this moment here in the land of legislatively legitimated toxic masculinity, is it really so illogical to hate men? Well, that depends on your definition of toxic masculinity, doesn't it? For all the power of #MeToo and #TimesUp in the women's marches, only a relatively few men have been called to task, and I've yet to see a mass wave of prosecutions or even serious recognition of wrongdoing. Well, how many men would be good enough to satisfy you is the real question. On the contrary, cries of witch hunt and the plotted resurrection of celebrity offenders came quick on the heels of the outcry over endemic sexual harassment and violence. But we're not supposed to hate them because #NotAllMen. Well, that's true. Are you saying that all men are basically the same as Harvey Weinstein? I love Michelle Obama as much as the next woman, but when they have gone low for all of human history, maybe it's time for us to go all Thelma and Louise and Foxy Brown in their collective butts. Cool. Be that way. That's fine. I have no problem with that. The world has little place for feminist anger. I disagree. I see feminist anger all over the place. Women are supposed to support, not condemn, offer succor, not dismissal. We're supposed to feel more empathy for your fear of being called a harasser than we are for the women harassed. We're told he's with us and hashtag not him. But truly, if he were with us, wouldn't this all have ended a long time ago? If he really were with us, would he reckon that one good way to change structural violence and inequity would be to refuse the power that comes with it? So you're saying that good male allies would supplicate. They would grovel. So men, if you really are hashtag with us and would like us to not hate you for all the millennia of woe you have produced and benefited from, start with this. Lean out so we can actually just stand up without being beaten down. Pledge to vote for feminist women only. Don't run for office. Don't be in charge of anything. Step away from the power. We got this. And please know that your crocodile tears won't be wiped away by us anymore. We have every right to hate you. You have done us wrong. Hashtag because patriarchy. It's long past time to play hard for team feminism and win. So here we go. Here's the list of demands, right? The list of demands for someone like me. I consider myself a feminist ally, if we want to even call it that at this point. But here we are. Lean out so we can actually just stand up without being beaten down. I don't know what you mean by that. I guess, that's referring back to the, quiet down so women can speak up. Okay, I can get that. Make sure that I'm not going to be overbearing. But pledge to vote for feminist women only. Well, what if that feminist woman is also a Nazi? Or what if that feminist woman completely and totally supports the notion of a complete and utter genocide of the male species? Would you support that? Don't run for office. Fuck you. I'll do what I want. It's up to you to be better than me in a run for office. Don't be in charge of anything. No. It's up to you to beat me in a competition for leadership. Step away from the power. What power do I have? I'm just a little old electrician, sitting in my basement making YouTube videos for fun. What the fuck power do I have? We got this. Here it is. It's time for you to step away and let us take the wheel, because you guys have fucked it up for too long, and clearly we will do better. Right? That's what we're saying by this. Women are just superior to men in every way. And please know that your crocodile tears won't be wiped away by us anymore. We have every right to hate you. Right? And that's, you have done us wrong. Here's the issue. Remember up here when I said, it's not why can't we hate men, it's why can't we hate Spiffy Man, right? It's because I'm a part of this collective group that she has labeled. Now, gentlemen, I would implore you, if this is something that you support, if you're a male, I would highly suggest that you take this title. Take the title and replace this word men with your name, or even better, your son's name, if you have one. And then everywhere down through here, when she discusses masculinity, when she uses the word men, just insert the term you, or insert your son's name. Like, I feel like that is definitely going to have a greater effect. Boys and men, you and your son, right? This woman hates you. It doesn't matter how good a person you are. It doesn't matter if you've never harmed anyone. It doesn't matter if you are an honorable person. It doesn't matter if all you're doing is trying to go to your job and support your family, work hard, pay your mortgage, things like that. She doesn't give a shit about that. You are part of this group. Now I want you to try another experiment. I want you to take this article, and I want you to replace the word men with gays. And I want you to try to read this in the context of an evangelical Christian talking about the sin that is homosexuality, because it reeks of the exact same thing. This woman has most definitely told me that I have to take these premises on faith. And once we've established that these things are true, without any question, all of this must be true. I don't take anything on faith. I didn't do it for the evangelical Christians, and I'm damn sure not going to do it for this feminist. But the thing that scares me is that this woman teaches young college women the same thing. And what scares me even more is that maybe in her crusade in her gender studies classroom, where she doesn't teach gender studies, she indoctrinates feminists, radical feminists, to hate men. That there might be a young man similar to me who is interested in the social relationships between men and women, and he decides to take up gender studies because someone told him it was a good idea. And it's a personal interest. And so here's this man sitting in this gender studies classroom being told how awful he is. Not directly, but just because he's part of a group. Part of a group that this woman decided to hate. When you hate groups this way, you are no better than the evangelical Christians. You are no better than the Nazis. Because one last thing you can do with this article is replace this word men with Jews. And I guarantee you that Richard Spencer would sing your fucking praises. And that's all I have for this. Get your shit together, because all this has done is taken every single feminist meme, every single feminist straw man, every single criticism of the feminist movement that has ever existed, and placed it into one article. This is the written version of fucking Trigglypuff. And you have done no favors by painting the feminist movement, the movement for equality for women in this country or anywhere else. You've done nothing but painted this movement as a gender supremacy movement. And this is the fucking Washington Post. Now, one thing that I can do, if I wanted to be a dick about it, is you look at this woman. Here she is, a professor of sociology, a director of a department at a university. I think it's fair to say that over a little old electrician who just does these videos for fun most of the time, for a little old electrician, she is in a position of power over me. If I were in one of her classrooms, she would be in a position of power. So, if I were to subscribe to the neo-Marxist notion that prejudice plus power equals an ism, in this case sexism, she is clearly engaging in prejudicial behavior towards men. And if I were in her classroom, she would be in a place of power over me. And therefore, prejudice plus power equals oppression. So she is now a woman who is oppressing a man based on his gender. And that's no fucking joke. So you get your shit together. We cannot do this. We cannot be this way if we want equality to succeed. You do not gain anything by painting women as victims and telling men to get out of your way. No, you lift women up. You teach them that they're not victims. You teach them that they are just as strong as men are because of years and years and years of people telling them that they're too weak to fucking do it, because they're not. And I know they're not, because I've seen women overcome more than this woman has probably ever experienced in her entire fucking life. And that's where I'm gonna leave it. Hope you guys enjoyed the rant. Started off a little lighthearted, ended up a little fierce, but sometimes that's how it goes. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I'll come out with a rant next week. Share this video around so I can make money off of it eventually. Love you guys. Bye.